Hey everyone, today I'm going to do a review of the brand new movie Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now, as a big Planet of the Apes fan, in fact, you can see some over my shoulder if I can get it in the right side. Planet of the Apes figures on both sides there. I've been enjoying Planet of the Apes since the 70s. Now, of course, the original came out in 1968, but I was too young at that time to enjoy it. However, like I said, I've seen them all. I own all the movies. I have some toys. I have some old puzzles from the Planet of the Apes, trading cards, etc. I just think it's a great series. So, a few years ago, of course, the series was brought back to life, let's say, with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which I thought was an excellent movie. I really loved that movie. I think it had a great story, great characters. Of course, the effects were wonderful, including the CGI. Andy Serkis did a great job. James Franco did a good job. Wasn't crazy about, I think her name was Frida Pinto in the female role of the human. But anyway, great movie. Now, on to this movie. This, of course, is 3 years later in real life, and it's taking place 10 years later after the end of the last movie, when if you saw the end credits, you realized that this virus was spreading around the earth by people going on flights, including the infamous pilot. So anyway, that's how that movie ended, and this one sort of picks up there with news stories about what has happened since then. So it's been 10 years since the end of that movie in this movie, and it has been a terrible 10 years for mankind. They've been pretty much, well, most of them have been killed by this virus or this disease called simian flu. And they've had, since the last movie, there have been things that talked about simian flu and some that seemed quite real, actually. Some of the announcements and things about what to do if you're experiencing these symptoms and things. So, anyway, they've done a good job keeping up interest, I think. And this movie, therefore, is sort of pitting who's left among the humans with the chimps and other apes that are off into this encampment sort of space. It's in California, taking place again in California. And the characters in this one, there are a lot of the same characters as far as the apes. Of course, you have Andy Serkis as Caesar, and you have Koba, who is one of the other apes involved, who was experimented upon and has scars from it. And you've got Maurice the orangutan and Rocket, who's another ape. And you've got Caesar's son is named or called Blue Eyes in this. And there's Cornelia, Caesar's wife, and Blue Eyes' mother. And actually, she is in the middle, is pregnant at the beginning of the movie again. So that's how the movie starts out. And I have heard some people say that it's too slow. The first 30 or so minutes, 30 to 40 minutes are too slow. I don't really feel like it was slow at all. I think it was a good pace. And also I've heard people say, well, it was just the apes for the first 20 minutes. There was no humans. Well, that's true, or approximately that time frame. But I didn't see that as a problem. I thought it was a good way to show what was going on in the ape community and things that had happened. In fact, I thought they could have dwelled on that just a little bit more. I thought it was a little too quick how they, showed some and then moved on to the next thing. But I know you don't want to drag it out too long. Andy Serkis and also was, of course, excellent. And the CGI to me this time is even better. It's had 3 years to progress. And I think it shows. I think that it looks even more realistic because I do think last time there were times that I could look at it and say, oh, that doesn't quite look real. But it looks pretty real. This one just looks real the entire time, if you ask me. As far as the humans, I've heard people say that their story, they're very dull, and compared to the apes, they're not interesting. Well, it's it's hard to be as interesting when you're just a human, uh, compared to talking apes and apes that are learning all these things. But I thought they were fine. I didn't think they were boring, and I didn't think that either one was dwelt. They dwelt on either one too much. I thought it was a good mixture of the two, and also the only thing I think that I would say needed a tiny bit of improvement was during the scenes with the humans. A lot of times there was a really slow, like somebody would say something and then the person would just stare at them and there'd be a slow reaction, and I'm like, come on, pick it up, pick it up. So I think that's the only time I felt that way was when there were several scenes like that in between human characters, where they people don't usually wait that long to respond. So I thought that could have trimmed some off the movie, since the movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes. Now that includes credits, so really it didn't seem like that long. But again, trim it up a little. I would have thought would have been better. That's my one definite suggestion that could have improved this movie. Overall, I think I would give this movie a 4 out of 5, and I think it was very well done. It's definitely worth seeing. The characters are, I think, interesting, and the action is certainly there. There's a lot of action. This is a battle. This is kind of like the battle for the Planet of the Apes. In fact, I rewatched Battle of the Planet of the Apes, the older one, last night, just to kind of compare them, because, of course, that's the one I've seen the least of the 5 originals. And of course, I think this is better. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is definitely better than Battle, but the Battle has its moments. It's kind of a charming little movie, but you can tell the budget was majorly cut with that movie. So this kind of technology could have really helped it. But anyway, I think that that's what they're doing in this movie. They are battling to see who's going to come out on top, the humans or the apes. Someone's got to, and of course we all know in the Planet of the Apes how that's going to end. But how we get there, to me, is very interesting. And I'm so glad they're doing these new movies, because you always kind of wondered, and there were theories about how did it end up like that, and there are some things in these older movies that lead you to that, but this is a new take on it, and I kind of like that, just for a different spin. So I would say absolutely I recommend seeing this movie. I think the imagery is amazing. There is a lot of dark parts as far as the lighting, but it fits the scene, and I think that the pacing of the movie is good. I heard some complaints about pacing, and I don't agree with that. I thought it was fine. I really didn't have any problems with that, except those few scenes that I mentioned with the humans that were a little slow in the response times when you're talking. But other than that, I'm talking about the movie as a whole. I thought it was very well paced. It was very entertaining. Another thing that I thought was really surprising, when I went in to see the movie the last time 3 years ago, it was pretty much all adults and mostly men, because it's mostly a men's thing. It seems like that men like it more. Maybe one or two older kids. But this time there were a very mixed audience, many more women, and also a lot of kids. I was surprised how many kids. Now, it is summer, obviously, so kids are out of school, even though I went on a Friday afternoon to see it. But, I mean, some were quite small. I don't really think this is a good movie for small children myself, because there is quite a bit of violence. It's a war, basically, taking place, or a battle at least. So, that surprised me. But the good news about that is that I think that means Rise of the Planet of the Apes created a new generation of people who like the Apes movies, and that's great. I'm all for that, because it's such a good franchise. And as far as there being more women, that's great too. But I do think that had to do with Rise, because it was much more of an appealing movie in general to the public, not just Apes fans. And so therefore I do think it brought new fans into the fold, which is, like I said, a good thing. I would definitely think this movie's going to do well. I think it's going to have a very strong opening box office weekend, and it's well deserved. It's definitely, to me, a good summer blockbuster movie, and it's one that is going to have staying power. It's recreating this series basically to go along with the old ones, and I, for one, can never wait until the next Planet of the Apes movie. So I would hope that you enjoyed as much as I did. Like I said, I did like Rise a little better, but this is great. This is a great movie. Okay, thanks everyone. Take care.